Shall we have a Pixies song this week? I think we should. And the song that I'm going to be looking at is called Hey, which is one of my favourite Pixies tracks, I think. And the solo from this song was actually a strong contender for inclusion in my recent video on the best alternative guitar solos, the Viewer's Choice edition. But in the end, I went for a different Pixies solo. And I thought I'd save this one for a full song lesson because, yes, the solo in this track is fantastic, but the rhythm guitar parts are also very interesting. So I'm going to be going through everything in this video. Let me begin by playing a bit of the track for you. So there we are. This track originally appeared on the album Doolittle, which was the Pixies' second album, came out in 1989. And obviously they were a hugely influential band. And the famous example is, of course, Nirvana. And Pixies is where they got their whole loud, quiet, dynamic thing from. But loads of other bands influenced by Pixies. And I think the world of alternative indie music would be a very different place were it not for the Pixies. So let's get started. I'm going to take you through all of the main rhythm and lead guitar parts in this song. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the gear that I'm using to make this video. And I'll talk a little bit about how to get Pixies type sounds. Let's start with the verse. And I will put this song in the key of B minor. And the verse is based on this 4-chord cycle. And the overall harmony that is suggested by what the guitar and the bass are doing is this. We've got G, F sharp, then we've got B minor and D. So it's a kind of 4-chord cycle, and I'm hearing it as starting on the G. Again, it's a little bit hard to hear where this cycle starts. I think the bass comes in at the top of the track on a B, so at the start you think that maybe B minor is the first chord of this cycle, but as the track goes on I think I'm hearing the G as the first chord. And we're not actually playing these big bar chord shapes at all. The overall harmony is suggested by a combination of what the bass and the guitar is doing. So the guitar is playing this great riff on the higher strings, and then the bass is holding down the root notes, so that the G, F sharp, B and D. And the verse riff goes like this. It's a great riff, this one. It's all played on the top 3 strings, and I'm thinking about it in terms of this little D chord shape. So it's just your standard D chord shape. To play this riff you need to refinger it slightly. So I'm barring with my first finger across the top 3 strings at the 2nd fret. I'm using my 2nd finger on this D note here, the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And we've got this hammer on with the 3rd finger, so it's hammering down at the 4th fret on the 3rd string. And that's how the riff starts. We've got that hammer on there. I'm playing the 3rd and 2nd strings together and then hammering down at the 4th fret, Then we've got a couple of muted scratches, so just releasing pressure with your fretting hand. And then we're playing these two notes again, so the A and the D, and once again we're hammering down the third finger. And then I've got an upstroke of the pick, just playing the higher strings, so the highest couple of strings. And then I'm playing the G and B together, so this is a B and a D note, and then lifting up the third finger to an A and a D. It's actually easier to play this riff than it is to describe what's going on, I think. So let me just play it slowly and you can watch and see what's happening. You don't actually need to be super precise with this one. If you listen to the recording, sometimes he's hitting one string, sometimes it's a double stop, sometimes you can hear three notes in there. So don't worry too much about that. The more important thing is just to get the groove and the rhythm correct. And to do that, I think it's important that you strum or pick this in the right way. And looking at the videos of Frank Black, he's doing it like this. That does seem to work best, I think. So I've got a down, an up down on those scratches, down down, another upstroke, and then another couple of down strokes. It's always important to decide how you're going to pick a riff like this, and it makes a huge difference to how the riff feels and flows if you get that right. So that's the basic riff, and what happens is this riff is just adjusted slightly to fit the next chord. So that first riff fits the G chord, then when the harmony or when the bass line goes down to the F sharp, you just need to adjust the riff. So I'm going down to really just a triad shape. It's the top part of the F sharp chord, so it's third fret on the third string and then second fret on the top two strings, and once again there's a little hammer on into that shape. So from the barred first finger, this time slamming down my second finger onto the third fret. But otherwise it's exactly the same, it's the same rhythm, it's the same picking. Then we go back to the first riff another couple of times. So we play this riff, and then we've got the F sharp riff, and then back to the first riff two more times. So that fits this 4-chord cycle. So just to be clear, we're playing this once, and then this once, and then back to the first riff two more times. And that fits the bass line perfectly. We've got the bass line going. I think it's really clever how the guitar part fits in with the bass to suggest this overall harmony. So G with a ninth in there, or a second. Then we've got this a bluesy F sharp with the minor to major third, and then we've got a kind of B minor 7 sound, and then this D with the 6th in there as well. And for the rest of the song, the rhythm guitar parts are much more straightforward, and we're really just bashing out the bar chords for the chorus. And this time we've got a 3-chord cycle, and we've got G, then E minor, and then B minor. So and I think Frank Black tends to play the B minor like this, with the first finger all the way across 6 strings. and we're just building into that. So going into the chorus, we're playing quite softly, and then there's a bit of a crescendo as the drums come in. And that's that, I think, for the rhythm guitar parts. Let's check out the lead guitar parts as played by the marvellous Joey Santiago. And on the verses of the song, he's not really playing much at all. He's mostly just laying out and letting Frank Black do his thing. And then he's coming in on the choruses with these great unison bending type parts. Now, unison bending, probably the quintessential indie alternative guitar technique. I think it always works, it always sounds really good. If you don't know what a unison bend is, we're basically bending one note, and on the next string we're playing the same note, so we've got two of the same note, hence unison. And the charm of this is the lower note, the one that you're bending, is just gradually coming up to the pitch of the second note until they meet like that, and as that note is coming up you get this nice kind of wobbly dissonant sound. And sometimes when you're using this technique you do want those two notes to come together and be in tune, but what Joey Santiago is doing a lot in this tune is just really exploiting that dissonance and playing around with it, and some wonderful dissonant sounds. So in the chorus to this song he's actually up here bending at the 17th fret on the G, and he's playing the same note, this D note, at the 15th fret on the B. That's our unison bend. And he's starting off quite sparsely, just playing on the one of each bar, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as the chorus progresses he's just repicking some of those notes. And just moving around that bent note. So sometimes it's flat, sometimes he's overbending and it's sharp, and you get all of these really nice dissonances. Moving on to the solo, and I think it's a wonderful solo. It's very memorable and melodic, and it kind of goes a bit weird at the end. It starts like this. So starting on this D note at the 7th fret on the 3rd string, we're just coming down on that string, coming over onto the D string, and then we've got this little run of 3 notes. So it's 2, 2, 3, 4 on the D string, just hammering on those 2 notes. And then a slight variation so it fits the chords. We're playing this over the G and then over the F sharp. So on the F sharp we want this C sharp note, and then we're coming lower. So we've got E and D, coming down to a B and another little hammer-on idea. So open 5th string and hammering on twice. And then we just repeat that. Then the solo develops. We're coming up to the 7th position, and here I'm thinking B minor pentatonic, I think. So we've got a little bend at the 9th fret on the 3rd string. Again, it's a lazy bend, it's slightly out of tune, it's nice and dissonant. Climbing up the B minor pentatonic scale. So this is the same melody that we had in the lower octave at the start of the solo. So it's just coming down the B minor pentatonic scale, and we've got this Little chromatic run of notes once again. 5, 6, 7 on the B string. And the solo ends with some more of these unison bends. So this time it's an E being bent up to an F sharp, and we're holding down this F sharp at the 7th fret on the 2nd string too. And to start with, we're just playing on beat 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we're just building up. Let me put together the whole solo for you. That's pretty much it for the lead guitar parts. I think just for completeness sake, there is a little tremolo picked lead guitar part that you can just about hear in the final verse of the tune. It just goes like this. So this is being played over the main chords. And it's just the 5th fret on the D string, going down to the 4th fret, and then the open D string. And the song just ends with another chorus, and once again it's these unison bending type things. It gets a bit crazier towards the end of the song, so you can just dig in a bit harder, maybe just repeat those notes a little bit more. Let me take you through the gear that I'm using today, and I'm trying to get as close as I can to the Frank Black Joey Santiago sounds using the gear that I've got to hand. And I did a previous Pixies video, I think it was on D-Basser, and I remember talking about the twin Tele Les Paul guitar attack that you've got in a band like the Pixies, and what a good idea it is to do that. You've got these two contrasting guitar sounds which blend really well together, and I think if you're in a 2-guitar band, it's often a good idea to play different guitars so you've got your own space in the music. So for the Frank Black stuff, I'm using my Telecaster. It sounded good for the verse riff to be on the middle pickup position, so both of the pickups. On amp I'm using is my Vox AC30, and I've got a couple of pedals that I'm using today. You can just about detect a bit of a tremolo sound on the Frank Black parts in this tune. So I've got my full tone Super Trem. Fairly subtle. One of the good things about the full tone pedal is you've got this mix knob, so you can just blend in the tremolo sound. So I've got that set to about 10 o'clock today. And then I've also got a little bit of reverb. There's no reverb on the AC30, so I'm using the Strymon Blue Sky. I've got some room reverb. Again, it's quite subtle. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but it's quite a short room reverb sound. So I think a combination of those things, the Telecaster on the middle pickup position and then the tremolo and a bit of reverb, I think that comes quite close to the sound that I'm hearing on the recording. For the Joey Santiago parts, I'm using my Les Paul, still going into the Vox AC30, but the Santiago parts, clearly they're more distorted, so I'm using an overdrive pedal to get the distortion. It's the usual J-Rocket Archer pedal with the gain set fairly high today. One of the nice things about using the Les Paul is you can kind of have two sounds preset on the guitar and change between them using the pickup selector switch. So for the solo, I'm starting off using the rhythm pickup, the neck pickup, and I've got the volume and tone for the neck pickup rolled off slightly, and you get that lovely warm sound. And then for the end of the solo, and also for the chorus parts in the song, I'm just switching to the bridge pickup, and I've got that set with the volume and tone on full. So nice to be able to go between those two sounds just using the pickup selector switch. There we go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy learning this track. As usual, a detailed tab is going to be up on my Patreon page, and you'll also be able to find my backing track there if you fancy playing along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.